Okay, so we're going to continue talking about itemized deductions this week. So there's basically four main itemized deductions: medical expenses, taxes, mortgage interest, and charitable contributions. So today we'll talk about medical expenses and why they don't matter for probably like 95% of taxpayers at this point. So remember, you either take the itemized deductions or the standard deduction, whichever is higher. And ever since 2018, the standard deduction is really high, so most people don't itemize. In order to take medical expenses, you have to have total deductible expenses greater than 7.5% of your adjusted gross income for them to start mattering. So, for example, if I'm a single person and I make $100,000 a year, my first $7,500 of medical expenses just plain don't count. I have to basically get those, and then any dollar after that becomes deductible on Schedule A. So if I have $10,000 in medical expenses, I've got a $2,500 deduction. That plus my real estate taxes and state income taxes plus my mortgage interest plus my charitable contributions have to be more than $13,850 in 2023 for single people. For married people, $27,700. So it's especially hard for this to matter at all for married people, especially given the fact that 7.5% of married couples with two incomes, it's going to be a pretty high number. So start there. Realize that most years it's not going to matter. But let's say you've got a high year for medical expenses and you're wondering what's deductible. Basically all the general stuff that you think is deductible is probably deductible. So doctors, dentists, orthodontists, chiropractors, any payments for medical services, prescription drugs, those types of things are all going to be deductible. Some of the things that maybe people don't realize are deductible that are things like acupuncture, like some drug treatment and addiction services, fertility treatments, insurance, medical insurance, but only if it's a post-tax plan. So if you have a plan through a large employer, it's probably pre-tax and you don't get to deduct those premiums that are taken from your wages. But other than that, other health insurance premiums are deductible. PPE, so masks, hand sanitizer, wipes, stuff like that. Lead-based paint removal. If you have a house with a bunch of lead-based paint, stinks for you, but you can pay to have it removed and take a medical expense for it. Pregnancy tests, smoking cessation programs, transportation, vasectomies, all kinds of crazy stuff is basically a deductible medical expenses. So check out the IRS list if you're curious about something specific for your situation. And then there's the things that just plain aren't deductible that somebody asks me about every single year. So number one, marijuana, you can't deduct it. It's still illegal federally. So even if you're using it for medical purposes in whatever state you're in, it's not legal everywhere. And so you generally can't deduct that. Cosmetic surgeries, boob jobs, facelifts, nose jobs, stuff like that. If it's not a specific medical purpose and recommended by a medical professional, it's not deductible. Diapers, not deductible. Funeral expenses, already dead. Gym memberships are the biggest one that I get asked about. You can't deduct that. If you donate to a GoFundMe for someone who needs medical care, you can't deduct that. Things like maternity clothes, dietary supplements are a big one that I get asked about. Like generally speaking, a lot of vitamins and dietary supplements are not deductible. Again, they should be recommended by a healthcare professional. Teeth whitening is not deductible. And then finally, fees to your vet for your dog's medical expenses. Your dog does not pay any money in taxes, and so they don't get deductions for stuff like that. So again, none of this matters for most people, but if you have a year where you're like, holy cow, I paid a ton in medical expenses, total up your expenses, send them to me when we send your tax documents, and we'll make sure that it doesn't matter for you. And if it does, we'll certainly take it.